This series has a lot of very mixed reviews, but I'm willing to give book 1 a go. Hello besties, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day. Today we are going to talk about November releases. And before we start, everything that I mentioned will be linked down below in the description. And the first book that I want to mention is Throne of Secrets by Kerry Maniscalco. And this is only for the UK and internationals. The publication date got pushed from October to November 19th, but for the audiobook, if you have pre-ordered the audiobook or if you plan on getting the audiobook is going to be released on the same date, October 29th. And for the US edition, the book will still be released on October 29th. So for UK, November 19th, US, October 29th, audiobook, October 29th. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about is an anticipated release to a lot of people, me included, The Courting of Bristol Keats by Mary E. Pearson. I think this is her first adult fantasy romance with fae. This was pitched as a thrilling romantic fantasy full with dangerous fae, dark secrets, and addictive romance. And this is going to be the first book in a duology. A lot of ARC readers, I have noticed, they compared this book to The Cruel Prince with a lot of the dark fae machinations, but add to that a quest plot with enemies to lovers. I am so excited for this book. This is going to release on November 12th. Also, we have a lot of first print run editions. We have one for the US and one for the UK, and I think one is a Waterstones exclusive edition. I have talked about these books in my episodes of special edition books without a subscription, so I highly recommend you go check them out to see the first print runs of the books that I'm going to talk about in this video. And the next book that I'm going to talk about is another adult fantasy romance with fae. It's called Servant of Earth by Sarah Howley. She's the author of A Witch's Guide to Fake Dating a Demon, and that series I think is called Glimmer Falls. It is an adult paranormal romance. I only read the first book and I loved it. It was filled with humor. And this one is like a more serious, like adult fantasy romance, and this is going to be a first book in a series too. It is called The Shards of Magic, and let me just begin by saying the cover of this book is beautiful. I was blown away by this cover. I'm definitely going to read this book. And in this book, we follow Kenna, who is a captive in the cruel Fae court. She's trapped as a servant in the fairies' underground kingdom, and she must help her mistress undertake 6 deadly trials, 1 for each magic branch. And if she succeeds, her mistress will gain immortality and she will become the new heir to the House of Earth. But if she doesn't, the punishment is death for both the mistress and the servant. And while doing that, she gets caught up in the secret rebellion against the sadistic Fae King, and also she starts to develop feelings for the rebellion's leader. This sounds very promising to me, and this is going to release on November 19th. The next book is the sequel to What the River Knows. It is called Where the Library Hides. This is a historical fiction romance with magic, and the first book was pitched as The Mummy meets Death on the Nile, and this lush and immersive historical fantasy set in Egypt, filled with adventure, a rivals to lovers romance, and a dangerous race. Now, I didn't read the first book yet, but I know a lot of people read it and loved it, and the second book is going to release on November 5th. The next book is an adult mystery thriller suspense. It is called The Lake of Lost Girls. In this book, in 1998, female students to be exact, start disappearing at a North Carolina college. And a bright freshman student, her name is Jessica, first she starts to go through some struggles, but then she mysteriously disappears. And 24 years later, when bodies are found in a local lake, Jessica's sister Lindsay uses her hit true crime podcast to investigate her sister's disappearance. We have alternating timelines between past and present, and ARC readers said that you will never guess the revelations at the end of the book. They said that they were brilliant and people overall enjoyed this book so much. This is going to release on November 5th. The next release is Before We Forget Kindness. This is book 5 in the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series. This is translated from Japanese, and this series is basically around people, customers who come to this cafe and they want to travel back in time to get closure or to change something in the past, but the only rule of the cafe is you must come back before your coffee gets cold. And this book is going to release on November 5th. The next book is Games Untold. This is a collection of stories of the Inheritance games, a collection of novellas, and this is going to release on November 12th. I still haven't continued the series. I really want to read all the books, binge them together, and get to this one too, because I keep hearing the greatest things about this series, and I only read book 1, and I really enjoyed it. So I think the key is to binge them, because otherwise you will forget, and the books read so fast. They are so fast paced and the chapters are short, so you can binge them in like few days and be done with the whole series. I'm very excited for this one, November 12th. The next book is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It is called The Songbird and the Heart of Stone by Carissa Broadbent, and this is the 3rd book in the Crowns of Nyaxia series, and it's going to be focused on Misha's story. We got introduced to Misha's character in the first 2 books. If you have read them, you know who she is, and I cannot wait to read this book. And this is going to release on November 19th. The next book is called The Last Hour Between Worlds by Melissa Caruso. This is going to be the 1st book in a series. The series is called The Echo Archives. We follow a star investigator and her rival as they travel through layers of reality to try to save the world as they know it. Our main character, her name is Kimbrel, and she lives in a world where there are different layers of realities called echoes. And when you go one echo down, it's not very different from your normal reality, but as you go into the layers more and more, the world becomes more dangerous and more strange. Our creators said that this is a fun, twisty mystery that blends action and urban fantasy, and that the world building was so amazing. To be honest, this sounds very unique and action-packed. This is going to release on November 19th. The next book is a fantasy romance. It is The Half King by Melissa Landers. This is going to be the 1st book in a series, and we are following a king who is a king by day and a shadow by night. And in this story, long ago, the noble houses, the royal families, rose against the goddess, and for their treachery, for their rebellion, the firstborns of each house were cursed, and our MMC received the worst curse. He's a king by day, but he fades into nothingness by night. And if he doesn't find a solution before his 21st birthday, he will be lost to the shadow world, to the nothingness forever. When I checked this book, this one had some very mixed reviews that made me a bit scary, but I need to read it as soon as possible to decide if I want to get the first print run edition of the book or not. I already got, and you saw me unbox it, the special edition of Fairy Loot that was in the Romantasy box. But I need to know if I'm going to like this book or not. This is going to release on November 19th. The next book is the 4th installment in the Artifacts of Uranus, the 1st book being Trial of the Sun Queen, and this book is called Tale of the Heart Queen. In the 1st book of the series, we are following Lore. She's thrust into the spotlight where she needs to compete against 9 other tributes for the role of the queen. In this book, we have a lot of treachery, betrayals, fights to the death, fake court politics, magic, violence, action, and a little bit of spice. This series has a lot of very mixed reviews, but I'm willing to give book 1 a go. Let me know if you have read this series yet. The 4th book is coming out on November 26th. The next book is one of my most anticipated releases of the year. It is finally here. I am so happy. It is the sequel to, let me bring it. I need to show this book, this beauty, Spice Road. We have Serpent SE, the sequel, finally coming. I have been waiting for the sequel for like more than a year and a half, nearly 2 years. So yeah, I'm so happy that we are getting the sequel finally. This is a romantic, action-packed adventure set in an Arabian-inspired land. We have magic that is from like this sacred tree of tea. We have action-packed scenes. We have myths and monsters and battle scenes with monsters and friendships and betrayals and romance, but I'm not going to talk about the romance. You need to discover it for yourselves. And like the story and the plot line was so interesting, and I really loved this book so much. I enjoyed every single bit of it, and I cannot wait for the sequel. And of course, I got my Fairy Loot copy, so I will be waiting for that one impatiently. The sequel is coming out on November 21st. The next book that I'm going to talk about is also a book from an author that I discovered recently. I still haven't read anything by her, but I discovered her on Instagram. This book is called City of Alabaster, and it's going to be the first book in a series called Daughters of Chaos by Wendy Heiss. And it is an adult dark fantasy romance. And in this series, we are going to have 5 interconnected standalones set in the same world. And all the FMCs in these books will be students at a special university, special school called Arcane Academy, and it is a special school for extraordinary individuals. And in this book, we follow Serena, who is tied to the death god, and she joins the Arcane Academy, and she begins her first year as a divination and necromancy student. And as the year goes, she finds herself part of a conspiracy to free a demon god. First of all, let me just say, magical schools are among my most beloved, my favorite settings of all time in all books. And secondly, look at this fan art. I'm going to leave you with that. This book is going to release on November 19th, and I cannot wait. Just because of the fan art, I cannot wait to discover these characters' stories, and I cannot wait to dive into this world. Okay, the next book that I'm going to talk about, I have already mentioned this book in one of my special edition books that you can buy with no subscription. It is The Teller of Small Fortunes. This book has a first print run edition that looks absolutely beautiful, but also we have a Waterstone special edition that has those pink sprayed edges, and the US cover and the UK cover, both of them are beautiful. I mean, I couldn't choose. Both of them are stunning, and this is of course a cozy adult fantasy where we are following a wandering fortune teller. This book is said to be perfect for Travis Baldree and Sango Mandana's fans, so I'm very excited to read this book. And I also saw that this book had a lot of 5 stars reviews that really makes me to pick up this book as soon as I have it in my hands. All of them raving and praising this book, saying that it was so cozy, so charming, so enchanting, and that it was one of their favorite reads of the year. I cannot wait for the release of this book. This is going to release on November 5th. And that was it for me today, book besties. If you made it this far, leave me any star emoji of your choice and let me know what is your most anticipated release of the month. And also, if you enjoyed the video, please subscribe and join the amazing community of book besties here. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!